Hey guys, Dirt here. I've taken over Formers Friday for this week because, as some of you know, it is my birthday this weekend. Thank you. And I got an awesome birthday gift this week. I, in fact, got a box from a friend of mine who wanted to remain nameless, but I have the Titans Return Powermaster Optimus Prime and the Titans Return Blaster. So we are going to do a Formers Friday this week, taking a look at these two awesome Transformers. So what do you say? Let's throw them in the photo tent and see how they look. Now, as you can see, these things are amazing. They look exactly like the original old school ones. In fact, I'm really... Wait a minute. Those are the old school ones. These are the wrong ones I threw in the tent. Beat it, old school. No one cares about you toys anymore. All right, here we go. This is the right one. Now, guys, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. When I saw these things originally, I knew I had to have this Optimus Prime. I honestly had no idea that he was a triple changer. Like, I didn't pay any attention at all to the, any of the information, any of the solicited information. I didn't pay attention to anything from any of the news sites. I didn't go to Toy Wiz and read the description, anything like that. It was just like, oh my gosh, it's Powermaster Optimus Prime. I want him. And then he came with a Blaster in this wave. And it's like, I really want those two figures. But I didn't actually pay any attention to any of the details because, quite honestly, it's probably going to sit exactly like this on display on my shelf. But I do want to play with it. And I do want to see how the transformations go. Now, quickly, you can see the box is just kind of your standard Transformers box that we've come to all know and love. We do have the head there floating in with the Titans Return. And then here on the back, you can see that they have the three different modes. You've got the head that turns into your little guy there. You've got the listings of some of the other figures that are available and the things that are compatible. And all of that's great. You want to look at that stuff more in detail, you can pause the video, you can go online. But I'm going to rip this thing open and take a look at it. One thing I always hate is I always feel like this guy is some sort of like prisoner, being held by like the Lilliputians, like Gulliver from Gulliver's Travels. Could we please just throw him in the plastic and just forget about it? And if he wobbles around in the box, it's fine. No one's going to die if Optimus Prime wiggles around in the box in the store. So let's stop it with all this garbage, can we? And there he is in all his glory. Now, we do have our instructions, and they're not even on plastic anymore. They're like on this weird kind of newsprint type paper. I don't know. It's really cheap. And they did throw in another one of these trading cards, which I got to be honest, like, it's interesting that they throw these in the package, but most of these just go in a box with the instructions and are forgotten about. I don't even do anything with them. But let's take a look real quick at this robot mode versus the original. Now, I always loved having this giant, powerful version of Optimus Prime. Just like an Ultra Magnus. The way he was technically Optimus Prime, but they made a different character out of him. But that's just, cool. I'm going to turn on this little light over here. Let's see if we can get some light on him. I love the big look. I love the big, bulkiness of them. And this maintains a lot of that big, powerful look. But, oh my gosh, look at the articulation. I mean, this thing is beautiful. We still have all the same thing. We've got the shoulder guns. We've got the hand guns. We've got the panels from the tractor trailer on the side of the legs, although they go on both sides here. But it adds to gives it the ability to have the articulation down there, which is fantastic. You've got the neat, power engine accessory Powermaster thing on there. And the head, it still has the look that this is a more, I don't know if you want to say battle helmet version of Optimus Prime. And so it still has that same kind of powerful look to it. You still got the logos on the shoulders, both shoulders there. You've got the pieces of window showing up in the same, more or less the same spot there. Although the cab window is much much more streamlined on that version. But still, a very beautiful modern representation of the old version of Optimus Prime. I think this is a great looking robot figure. Now, that's looking at it straight on, though. Let's see if it holds up. This is honest to goodness, like the first time I'm seeing this. So as I'm mentioning these things, it's just now coming to me, and I like... Okay, I like the general idea of the look of this. I especially like how they have the Autobot logos in the back, so it's visible and makes it very clear which side he's on. But this is... That's just kind of ugly right there. You know, could you not have put just like a flat piece of plastic right across there to kind of cover that up? That would go a long way. We do have a little bit of the hollowing out of the legs. Just uses less plastic. No real big deal there. And I'm noticing this has this cutout area instead of being pipes all the way. I'm guessing that the figure can actually fit down in this, and you can make him fly around like he's on a little skiff or something. I'm betting that's what that's going to be. That's actually a neat idea there. So, yeah, I love it. It looks fantastic. Let's get it transformed into one of its modes and see what happens. And there is the vehicle mode. Actually, that's pretty sweet. Now, one thing about the Powermaster, of course, is that you know, the cab doesn't actually come out separately and turn into an Optimus Prime. The vintage one does. Of course, this one does not. But you still have all the, you know, the same basic looks, the modified trailer in the back. You've got the two black guns on top. You've got your shoulder cannons that are over here. And you do have the back that opens, and you can see inside. Now, there's the piece that was on his chest with the extra motor piece. That was actually your little Powermaster guy in the vintage one. But here you can see that inside, it does open it up, so you have a lot of room. But, you know, it's still not clean, so to speak, on the inside. The guns, now because he has two different guns, they are not symmetrical. That's one thing I always liked in the original one. Let me just pull out the vintage ones, throw him in here real quick, just to talk about some comparisons. I always liked the look on this vintage one that these guns were symmetrical. Everything, you know, whatever you have on one side, you have on the other side. A very clean look. Also, it covered up everything into a flat panel. The only, I don't know if you want to call it a bad part, but the only thing that really stood out was the fact that you had the opening here in this joint, which you don't have in the other one. But otherwise, the one thing is that this guy, they say that this is how it's supposed to be displayed when you turn into vehicle mode. I don't know about you guys, but that's never how I did it. I always put him in there and just had Optimus Prime rolling with a souped up engine on the front. I always thought that that was how it was supposed to be, and I always liked it that way, but whatever. That's not necessarily how that one's supposed to go. But when we bring this one back in, you can see that, again, because those guns on top are not symmetrical, they stand out a little differently. And you do have this kind of weird thing going on here with this opening and this little, I don't even know what you'd call it, like access window or something on there. But otherwise, all the way through, I think they've done a pretty good job. And they have these little tabs here, these little posts, so I'm sure you can attach other little guys to the side of them. They can be hanging off different ways and whatnot. And I have to say that as far as, and this being open here is a little funky. That is, I guess, more along the lines of the way Ultra Magnus was open. So, I mean, I guess there's kind of a precedent there. But as far as transforming him goes, it does a really good job of things tab into each other. Once it's transformed, it does feel pretty solid. Everything is, you know, tabbed or pegged one way or another, so everything connects together. It is kind of weird, though, because you do end up with, like, these little pegs sitting on top of the cab, which are, again, like these back here, but back here, they look utilitarian. When you see them here, they just look kind of awkward. The one neat thing, though, is that inside we do have our little dude sitting in the chair, hanging out, talking to everybody. Hey guys, how's it going? Just fine, thanks for asking. So you at least have a spot to put him to get him out of the way. Now, in the old one, it had the giant Optimus Prime head. I always stored that in the back. I just flipped out the back and, threw it in there to keep it. But with this one, everything, has a spot. Even your little guy has a spot there. So, I guess you could actually put one or two of these smaller cars in there and actually have them transported inside the Powermaster, and that's pretty cool. All right, now the next part of the transformation is going to be his city mode. And I have to be honest with you, for as long as I've had this guy, this vintage one, I never knew there was a city mode. I never even did it. As a kid, you pretty much threw away the instructions and you figured stuff out on your own. I put him as the truck. I put him as the robot. I could make, regular Optimus Prime from the cab or make the, Powermaster souped up one. But a city mode had always escaped me. And now there's one on here, and apparently the original one did too. Who knew? Well, millions of people probably, but not me. But anyway, let's transform him into city mode and take a look. And here is the city mode. Now, like I said, I honestly had no idea that the vintage one had a city mode. I have never, ever in my life converted it into that, but I saw the pictures doing a little research for this episode, and I can see how this is reminiscent of that original one. The original one had a big flat panel in the front and the two sides kind of folded off, going off to the side. Big middle section from where the guts were with the arms and everything sticking up. So this is very reminiscent of that mode. And as you can see here, we talked earlier when he was in truck mode, or I guess in robot mode, about how it looked like he could sit in there, and sure enough, he does. Now, one thing it says in the instructions is that this little piece on here, that I just tossed around for no reason, see how there's that little rectangular hole right there in the middle? Well, apparently this little rectangular spot up there can attach, and you can stick it right there, and you can have the guy sitting in the middle instead of off to the side. I have been completely unable to get it to sit up there and stick. It falls off every single time. I don't know. There's got to be something I'm missing, or maybe something changed from when they made the instructions to when they actually went into production. But I have had absolutely zero luck getting it to sit there. Now, as far as this mode goes, this is the least satisfying transformation for me. Just looking at this, it just looks janky. It looks awkward. You have a bunch of just, random parts folded out in a weird way. And it says that this connects to Fortress Maximus. Fortress Maximus, it looks like the two arms come out to the sides, and one of them will actually attach to the Optimus Prime city here, and the other arm will attach to the Blaster city. And so it just makes that whole fortress look bigger, which I guess is kind of a cool function. But honestly, I don't know that I would never use it this way. I mean, I guess it's nice to have your Powermaster figure have something to do. It gives him, a little play set. Maybe if I had a bunch more of these things, I might use them in this fashion. But really, to me, this just really looks janky. It's nice that it has that feature. And again, if I had maybe my little action figure guys that are this size, I can't think of their name, not Robotech, but something else. Anyway, if I had a whole bunch of those, maybe this would make more sense to have them, running around and have them all connected this way. But like this, the way it is, the playset just really doesn't look like anything other than a bunch of random machinery cobbled together. So I've done it. I've made the transformation. Maybe at some point in the future, I'll do it again just for the sake of having a spot for this little guy to run around and play in. But honestly, it's probably just going to go in robot mode to go on display next to the other Powermaster Optimus Prime, the vintage one. As far as this mode goes, it exists. It's interesting now that I know that the two of them can do that, but I probably won't do it again. All right, now we've got Blaster. Now I'm going to be 100% honest here. Blaster to me was always the second-rate Soundwave. Soundwave was always cooler than Blaster. And not just was, is, and always will be. Nonetheless, I still like the character, just not as cool as Soundwave. I just had to throw that in there just to poke fun at some people. Nonetheless, here we've got, again, you can see the 3 transformations, some of the other characters. One of the weird things I noticed about the artwork on this box, and I have no idea why they did it this way, is that you can see there's our guy. They put this bold white outline and showed that he can stand on top, like you see in this photo, which again has a bold white outline to show that he's standing there. Why they don't have him like sitting in here or standing over here or whatever, no, he has to be up there. But they didn't just take this version and Photoshop it on. They had to put that bold white outline. I don't know if that symbolizes something, if that means something, but that's just kind of weird. The other thing I noticed is that this guy actually looks like Blaster. He's got the same chest piece there. His layout, vaguely the same. I mean, there's not very much you can do, but the head looks like the head. Unlike the one with Optimus Prime that doesn't look anything like him, completely different character, this one actually does look like him. So there you go. Again, you can see there's a lot of articulation and stuff. So we're going to rip this guy open and take a look. And here is his robot form. And again, we have another training card, which will be thrown into a box and forgotten about. And we do have our instructions. And there you go. The instructions are kind of weird to me. I've always had this weird thing with instructions for Transformers because they always leave a lot of information out. And one of the main things is his chest opens and ejects, like the old school days. There's this piece. It doesn't look like a cassette. I don't know. Is it supposed to be like an MP3 player? I guess. There's a little play pause button. I don't know if you can see that in the lights there. But there's nothing in the instructions of what to do with this. It actually took me several minutes to open this up and realize that this actually fits in there, which it's nice that it has a spot to go in, that they made it big enough to put that piece in there. But again, it doesn't say that in the instructions anywhere, so idiots like me have no idea what's going on. We can take a look around. The handle folds down in the back instead of breaking apart into the legs like we saw in the old one. You've got a little bit of the weird stuff from the speaker breaking apart on there. But otherwise, I got to say that looks cool. I've always said that I've always liked the big, bulky look of Generation 1 Transformers in general. And that has a good, bulky look to it. Now, if we take our original vintage Blaster and bring him in, now mine has some extra, pieces from the cassette. I have to find a spot for things to go, so that's where that goes. But if you take a look, you can see how they've mimicked a set of speakers here on the leg, even though the speakers are actually on the side, so you've got extra stuff. They've done the colors. They've done what would be like the little vents for echoing the sound. You've got the triangles on the legs up there. They even have this massive crotch where his color rub insignia was. So if you were really entranced by his crotch there and you still want to rub it, hey, they got a spot for you. And you might also want to seek professional help. But overall, you can see that they've done a really good job of taking the look and updating it. And one reason why I always like Soundwave more than Blaster is that his robot mode looks really, I don't know, janky is just the word that comes to mind. I can't think of. There's not a lot of articulation. You can't move the elbows. You can't move the knees. You just have the hips and these shoulders that move out. But otherwise, his robot mode is really kind of weird looking. Although I've been told that I should push these in, and it looks better on the robot mode if you've got the arms in like that. But again, that takes away a little bit from the articulation. It helps him with his look overall. Maybe you can't really move the arms that well, but this looks so much nicer than that. I can't really think of the right words to say of how awesome, how incredibly awesome and superior this look is compared to the old one. The Powermaster one for Optimus Prime looks nicer, but there's still something good about the classic giant robot look, whereas this is like 1,000 times better than the vintage one. And that's not always true for me. Sometimes I prefer the vintage look. Blaster was one I never really cared for a whole lot. So this looks great. And I also love the little visor, how they have the eye holes cut there on top of the head. So anyway, we are going to give him his transformation and take a look at his alt mode. All right, here is Blaster in his Blaster mode. Couple of notes real quick. First of all, in doing the transformation, I did find here are the instructions. This whole section is about transforming him into the boombox mode. On the back, though, all the way over here, there's this one little sequence that shows you that MP3 player goes into the cassette slot. So it does say it in the instructions, just in a place completely different from everywhere else that you're going to look for the instructions. But nonetheless, it's there, so you got to give them credit for that. One problem, though, is that the head doesn't have any place to go in this version. When he's in this mode, there's no place technically to put him. So what I'm going to do is pop open this little section here where the speaker is, and you can see there's some dead area. That's going to be his home whenever we're in this particular mode. All right, so you've got the player. His gun, they actually say it goes in the back right here in order to get it out of the way. I don't know that I necessarily like that. On my vintage one, I always used it as the antenna. So it is back there picking up the signals out of the air. What I would like to do is the same thing with this. So honestly, I just think it looks a little better to have it sitting like that, because at least straight on, you can say it's the antenna that picks up the radio signals. Otherwise, though, you can see that the boombox mode is the same basic idea, but almost completely different. So instead of having the tiny speakers on his leg be, way over here to the side, and this extra, dead space, the arms actually lay out across the top, and you get those giant speakers. So this is actually much more like what you would get in a commercial music player nowadays with those gigantic speakers. This, to me, always looked like it was based off that Panasonic model boombox that we always used to see back in the day. But of course, the speakers were smaller. Here, they're bigger. And your eject button, does still work. But you've got that MP3 player in there instead of a cassette. Turning it around to the back, though, you can see how the different pieces come together and how, again, I'm looking for the word. What's the word? I think the word is janky. Janky is just the right term for it. You have these mishmash of colors. You've got these pieces that are going to come out when it's in the other mode. I know the back of the alt mode is never really that important. It's like looking at the bottom of the car when you transform somebody. But still, to me, it just seems like they could have smoothed this out a little bit better, especially considering these are the back of the arms that you don't see when he's in robot mode anyway. So they could have done something to smooth this out a little bit better. But whatever. It's not that big of a deal. I just would have preferred that they fix that up a little bit. You do have some weird spots here in the middle where it doesn't quite come together. I'm not sure why they, didn't fill that in with something, but they didn't. But otherwise, you don't have the buttons like you have on the vintage Blaster. All you have is the one eject here, and they have a second button there, which I don't know if they're going to say like that's the play button, because there's nothing along this area. But I just find it weird that it's not the same shape. Again, symmetrical, people. I like symmetrical. They still have this random button piece up here. Maybe that plays into the city mode version. I don't know. But I don't know, that's the type of thing that drives me crazy. That's my OCD coming in as far as that goes. But yeah, so I wish there was an actual spot to put this to somehow, fold him out and work him in somewhere. This he does, fit in this. When we look at the city mode, you'll see that he can sit as far as that goes, but he doesn't actually fold into it anyway to kind of get out of the way, and there's no way he's going to fit when you slide it back into there. So instead, he's just your extra piece that you got to tuck away somewhere to find, a place to keep it safe so you don't lose it. But otherwise, there it is. And, I do like this mode. I don't know. I think I like the vintage version better in general. Part of what I don't like is how unstreamlined this is. This is more like the anniversary edition, like they do with Soundwave and whatever, where you can put 2 cassettes in there, so they give it that extra space. I think I like it here where it's slimmed down and everything comes together as one solid piece. So this doesn't quite work as well. I like the idea of the big speakers, but in general, I think I like the vintage alt mode more. But enough of that. Let's turn it into city mode and take a look. And here's the city mode. Now, I didn't particularly care for the city mode with Optimus Prime. To me, it just didn't really seem like it looked like anything. It was just a big mishmash of pieces. I actually kind of dig this. I know, I probably made 1,000 people mad right there. How can he hate that other one when he likes this one? It's just how it is. I don't know. I'm weird that way. I don't make any sense. But this is, again, a jumble of pieces, but to me, it kind of works overall. There are some things, obviously I wish there was something that folded out right here that covered up the middle section, but for the most part, this looks more like a battle station type thing. You've got lots of little guns, lots of little pieces. I like how they have this little danger sticker here to make it look like, you got to watch out for big machinery, whatever. And like the gun here sits in this section. It can go out to one of these points if you want to. It can sit up here. This little guy can actually sit around in any one of these little spots. He can even sit here, and there's a little targeting icon there on the glass. You can see it when he's in, his other modes, but here it actually makes sense. But there's just something about the way this transforms where you have almost like a flat back and then the pieces growing out. Whereas on the Optimus Prime one, it was kind of the opposite, where it was done kind of this way, where you had all this bulk at the bottom and just some things kind of sticking up. To me, this works a whole lot better in that type of mode, where you've got a backdrop that things are coming out of. And to me, this looks more exciting as a city piece. Now, again, like on the box, it shows that he stands up here, but there's actually a seat for him to sit in. So the artwork on the box is just stupid. But I dig this. I actually like this mode. I might actually play around on this. In fact, I liked it so much, I figured I would take the vintage one and see if I could turn him into a city mode. No, that doesn't work at all. So anyway, I actually like this mode. That's pretty cool. So I wouldn't display him this way, obviously, sitting on top of my shelf. He'd actually be in robot mode. Probably not the radio mode. Even though I like the radio mode and the vintage more, this would be robot mode standing next to that vintage mode. But this playset thing is actually pretty nice. And these big pieces, there are actually a couple other guys that they put out, Stripes and Rewind, that go in there. Rewind I actually have. I looked for him. I have no idea where he's at. I was actually playing with him a couple of days ago. And he's like a little tablet, cell phone, MP3, or not Rewind. Maybe it was Stripes. I don't remember. But anyway, he can also turn into like a little car, and then the robot. But anyway, he fits in that space as well. But once you put him in, what are you going to do with this MP3 player type thing? But regardless, I like this mode. This is fun. I would play with this. In fact, I will play with this. In fact, I'm going to grab the head off of Optimus Prime here, and he's going to come in. He's going to be playing with his buddy here, and we're going to repel some Decepticons, and we're going to have some fun this afternoon. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week of Formers Friday. I want to thank you for joining me. I'll be back from time to time. The Geek, I know he actually filmed a whole bunch in advance. He's got some coming through, and we'll get those up in the next couple weeks. I'll be back in a little while. I've got a couple more that I'll probably do. But I want to thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to come to popculturenetwork.com. Check out the rest of the stuff we have. We've got podcasts. We've got other videos going on. We've got my Vine video reviews, cool stuff like that. Don't forget to check out @PopCultureNet on Twitter. And you can always call our 24-hour voicemail line. It's area code 217-953-4025. You can call it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and leave us some voicemail feedback. Also, if there's other shows that you would like to see, we've added Fans of Power in the last year. I've been doing the Vine comic reviews, which are short 6-second comic reviews on Vine. But, if there's anything other, like specific type of things that you want to see, coverage of particular things, podcasts talking about stuff, let us know. Call that voicemail line. Send me an email, dirt@popculturenetwork.com, whatever. And let us know what it is that you want to see and, what you think about some of the stuff that's going on. Because, that feedback is always very helpful to us, especially, if you just say, I don't like that toy. Okay, well, that's great, but that doesn't really help us with anything. But if you've got some feedback about something specific that you want to see, something you want covered, another particular type of show that you'd like to see us doing, stuff like that, new toy smell, that's not coming back. That takes like 20 hours to put together, a 40-minute thing on YouTube. It just doesn't, work out right for us. It doesn't have the longevity on some of that stuff. But maybe, like an It Figures type thing could come back in one form or another. Something like that. So anyway, guys, let us know. Make sure you check out Fans of Power, fansofpower.com, which is part of the Pop Culture Network. You can also check me out on Vine. It's Vine comic reviews with no vowels. It's all consonants. Just drop the vowels out. It makes it easier to find that way. Or, just come to ineedcomics.com, which is part of the Pop Culture Network, and you can see all of them there. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for me. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Dirt, call me.